All right, let's move on to our top story first. In the US markets overnight, they closed sharply higher in the overnight session, notching their best one-day percentage gains since January 2019. And this, as Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell signaled the central bank was open to easing monetary policy to save the economy, and as trade tensions eased amid comments coming in by China as well as Mexico. The Dow Jones surged over 500 points. The S&P 500 jumped about 2.1%, and the Nasdaq Composite too gained almost 3%. CNBC's Eric Shemi gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
U.S. stocks posting their best day in months. The Dow adding 500 points, its biggest gain since January 4th. The S&P up 58 and the Nasdaq higher by 194. Investors breathing a sigh of relief after Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said the central bank will act appropriately to sustain economic expansion. Powell also adding the Fed will be closely watching the economic impact of global trade tensions. The comments come amid growing expectations for a rate cut, with economists now forecasting a 90% chance the Fed will cut rates in September. Wall Street also getting a boost from an apparent thaw in the icy trade negotiations between the United States and China. In a post, the Chinese Commerce Ministry said differences between the two nations should be dealt with through talks, investors taking those comments as a positive sign. And it can't come soon enough for luxury retailer Tiffany, the jeweler blaming the trade war for slowing tourism spending. Sales to tourists in the United States plummeted 25% during the first quarter. That drop is even steeper for Chinese tourists. As a result, Tiffany slashing its full-year outlook. That's the action from the U.S. market. Back to you in Mumbai.
All right, so that was about the Wall Street. Let's come back home. And last evening, in fact, we got news coming in from the housing finance sector's liquidity crisis. Does not seem to be letting up. In fact, CNBC DHFL has missed the deadline to pay NCD holders about 1,150 crore rupees. Sumera Abdi now joins us on the phone line with more details. Sumera, where does this leave the company, and can we see further ratings downgrades?
Hi, Mangalam. Good morning. Thanks for that. Yes, it's close to about 1,000-odd crores that DHFL has missed the payment on. We do understand that they have a 7-day grace period now to avoid default. However, we understand that they had some securitization deals, which was tomorrow, from which the monies would flow into these payments. However, there's uncertainty regarding whether these securitization deals have gone through, and therefore whether the money will be able, these dues will be able to be serviced later in the week or within that 7-day grace period itself. So that is something that the street would like to monitor. Now, as regards rating downgrades, my sources tell me that every rating agency views a grace period differently. So if rating agencies do not view the grace period as existing, therefore for them any delay becomes default. So it is very likely that downgrades will follow. Back to you.
All right, Sumera, thanks a lot for that. Definitely keep an eye out on how this pans out. In fact, Lata is also joining in with her take on this situation and what she's gathered from her sources at various rating agencies. Lata, does it seem like the first domino is shaking a little, if not toppling?
Yeah, no, first what the rating agencies told me, whether the grace period will be counted, and if DHFL pays before that 7-day grace period, whether it will be saved from being rated D. Two people in two different rating agencies told me that that may not be the case because RBI, SEBI rules and generally understood rating regulations is that 1-day default is default. And even if there is a bilateral agreement in that particular debenture, there is a clause saying that, you can start proceedings only after 7 days. That will not override the regulation rules that rating agencies must follow. So they have to rate it D. And after 7 days, can they go back to the BBB plus or whatever is the current rating of DHFL? What they say is that SEBI advisory indicates you have to wait for a curing period of up to 3 months. I mean, you may wait less, but you just want to see whether they have put in place curative steps to not default again. So you don't immediately go back to BBB. In fact, there was one of the rating agencies, of the two rating agencies I spoke to, said that you probably come back to C or B and not to BBB, because after all, there has been one default. So the NAV hit is kind of here to stay.
All right, NAV hit is here to stay. In fact, we also have Ajay Srivastav of Dimension Corpfin, joining us on the phone line to give us his take on this situation. Ajay, what do you make of this situation first up?
I think it's very disappointing. Not because, that this default has come, because it was in the making. I think what is very disappointing is that all these smoke signals were there that this company did zero business. It hasn't done disbursement for the last 60 days, was allowed to continue instead of being either forced to merge with somebody, to sell off, and taken a long-term position on this. This is like a slow death which is happening on the company, and the lenders will lose a lot of money. So academically, yes, we can say rating will be a D or a not, but the fact is company is in default. It's a one-way spiral to bankruptcy, and it's just a matter of time because and it's true for any NBFC or any bank. If you stop doing business, if you stop getting money in the kitty, no company in the world can repay all its obligations. It's not going to happen. And that is the state of DHFL. Okay. So I'm quite disappointed at NHB and RBI. Nothing was done, although this company has been in and out of almost default status for the last 3 months.
Well, Ajay, I'll just come to what curative steps will be or can be taken. But first up, I wanted to know if there will be a domino effect. Other housing finance companies not getting money or people pulling money out of debt funds? Or do you think DHFL was very well known and so we should not really see panic?
No, I don't think you'll see panic because the panic has already floated in the system. People who want to take the money out. And now we are left with 3 or 4 NBFCs who on the parent guarantee can raise money, whether it's L&T, whether it is Bajaj, etc. Nobody else is able to raise money. So I think the panic is already set out in the system. The only thing which is saying is that at the end of the day, whether it is ILFS or DHFL, this still has sizable exposures to the market, has sizable exposures to them. And therefore, if a default status comes, that's going to still hit them more. So far, nobody was sitting with a default paper. Now, as we will go tomorrow morning, some of the MFs and banks are going to sit with a default paper. That's what I said. Why have you let it come to a point that now the MFs are holding default paper rather than AA minus and AA paper which they had on the books? So that's my only concern, that it has gone down to a default status. And I don't believe it's a matter of time the next installment will default or something will default. This may be cured, but something else will default. The company is doing no business. So, you can imagine it has to default sooner or later.
Yeah. So now for action, there is a monetary policy tomorrow. Do you expect the Reserve Bank will open some window for NBFCs? Or do you think that is not the call? Actually, maybe the Company Law Board or the MCA or someone with the authority should just force DHFL to sell to whoever is available. What kind of steps do you foresee?
I think it's a straight sale of the company. I think there's no other solution to that because I can't believe that after the Cobra Post expose and all the issues on corporate governance, any window of RBI or any bank can lend money to this company under this promoters. So that's ruled out, Lata. No matter if the window is even open, I don't think the window will be open for this company. Now, somebody has to buy out the paper being held by this company in a short order, which is also very difficult. So I think it has to be someone to come in and just take over this company. Whether it's going to be a PSU bank or somebody else, NBFC or a private equity fund, we don't know the answer. But, again, it takes time to take over a financial services company with a certain background that we have created of this company. So I'm not sure the solution is going to be to put a gun to somebody's head and make this take over. I think this will die a little slow and painful death because even though people are willing to buy this company, the due diligence process and default status could be a big problem to buy a company because you also carry over the burden of default status paper unless you pay all the paper at the same time. So it's a difficult call, but I think this is looking to be a slow death kind of a jet airways style that what could be retrieved is now letting it go into the dumps.
Okay. Well, very quickly, they have apparently been already talking to some buyers. So if, say, the MCA moves in and asks the current promoters to write down their equity to zero and do a quick auction between the 3 or 4 bidders that people are saying they're talking to, you don't think it can be quickly resolved within the month or something like that?
If you try to do that, because they have not defaulted so far, that's the honest answer. They have 7 days more to cure the default. So under what law can you actually force them to do it? And we already saw the law being tested in the case of this FPIL, where it got struck down in Supreme Court, such action. So I'm not sure there is enough cause of action to kind of force a promoter to sell equity. So Lata, this has to go through its own process now.
Oh, right. Thank you very much, Ajay Srivastava, for joining us. My own sense is that given the way in which the US markets have behaved, the markets will be on the front foot. The expectation is that there will be a rate cut from the Reserve Bank. So hopefully there is enough other good news to prevent panic. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely, we'll have to wait and see. In fact, and how long do we have to wait is the big question, because like Ajay Srivastava said, that there may be a slow Jet Airways kind of situation for